And welcome to the Dudes Podcast. I'm Brad.
And I'm Jeremy.
And Jeremy, we are doing our last of our kind of like summer slasher kind of horror movies.
Yes.
You would say.
Yeah.
We are doing episode 113, which we should have done Friday the 13th, part 2 on this slot instead of 112.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't think of that, but hey, so it goes.
That would have, well, no. 1 plus 12 is 13.
Yeah, sure.
So
sure.
there you go.
That's how it works.
Yep.
But we decided not to do that. We already did that. Episode 113 will be Sleepaway Camp 2, Unhappy Campers, you would say, right?
Yes.
Column or behind that. Grab your Rollin Hills camp t-shirt and let's get going, right?
Yeah,
with this movie, please. Speaking of rolling hills, there are a lot of rolling hills in this movie, just not the landscape, if you know what I mean. I'm just talking about boobs. There's a lot of boobies in this movie.
There are a lot of boobs.
There are a lot. A little too much for you and I. But hey, whatever. Again, we are doing Sleepaway Camp 2.
Somebody who is listening to this just went, too much boobs?
Too much boobs? They're like, what?
Boob? I don't know what that
those
even
guys.
means.
1988, the sequel to, of course, the cult classic Sleepaway Camp.
Yes.
Do you have anything about this movie that you want to, any information? They shot this movie and the second movie.
This is the third one.
This is the third movie, back to back.
Yep. It's for like get them out of the way.
Get them out of the way.
Which is
rip off
what I suggest for us as well.
Probably. So. There you go. It does star some, if you like Bruce Springsteen. Do you like Bruce Springsteen? Do you like Charlie Sheen and Emilio Estevez? Do you like their sisters? Well, then you'll love Sleepaway Camp 2.
It's true.
So it does star Bruce Springsteen's sister, Pamela Springsteen.
Yeah.
And it does star Charlie
Does
Sheen.
Not quite have the same rock
Emilio,
kind of
it does not have the same rock feel.
Pamela.
And Pamela Springsteen. The bossette. You would say.
The understudy.
Emilio Estevez and Charlie Sheen and Martin Sheen. So relation.
And Carlos what's his name?
Go ahead.
The Joe Estevez's niece.
Yes, Joe yeah. Joe Estevez. Renee Estevez stars as Molly in this movie. You would say our final girl in this movie as well. So there's that. So you get the best Estevez.
Well, and she does look like in case
you might know her from Nancy from The West Wing.
Yeah, totally.
Or Molly from Sleepaway Camp 2.
In case it's not enough of a draw just by the name alone, she looks like Martin Sheen in a wig. So like
young Martin Sheen in a wig. Martin Sheen.
Yeah. You can definitely tell a family resemblance.
When he did that Starkweather movie. Yeah. Badlands. Yeah.
Yeah, so if that draws you in, you're going to want to see this movie.
So maybe they were trying to get that, maybe, I don't know. Whatever.
Perhaps.
Yeah, perhaps. Who knows? But, before we continue, should we talk about the No Phony Podcast Network?
We should.
Go ahead. Tell everyone about the No Phony Podcast Network.
So the No Phony Podcast Network is a ragtag group of podcasters who come together.
Are we ragtag?
Well, we are something.
Some of us are rags.
What does that even mean? So we come together to help support each other and to help make sure our content is getting out there. So there's all sorts of great shows that participate in that. It ranges everything from kind of your true crime to your the conspiracy theory and paranormal stuff. People who are just kind of like doing true life stuff. People who are reading
sketch comedy.
Yeah, sketch comedy. There's everything out there. So I definitely recommend make sure you take a few moments and go to nophonynetwork.com and see everything that's out there and available. And
and if you like one of their shows, retweet if you're on Twitter, and then just put hashtag No Phony Podcast Network.
Yes.
Get the name out. We love the No Phony Podcast Network. We've been with him for over, God, how long?
It has to have been at least a year.
Okay.
The featured the featured podcast this month, by the way, is Comic BS.
Comic BS.
So the gentleman has a couple of shows with us with the Comic BS with Beej.
So I'm pretty sure they're probably going to be talking about probably the Spider-Man news that came out.
Oh yeah, I imagine so.
Imagine that.
If you want his hot take on that, I definitely suggest you listen.
Hot take, but here's a hot take for you. We're going to do hot takes on Sleepaway Camp 2, Unhappy Campers. Do we have a plot synopsis on this movie?
We do.
Because I'm going to assume that this is a long plot synopsis.
Oh, it's probably longer than we can describe the movie itself. Camp Rollin Hills will never be the same. Not with their newest camp counselor, Angela Johnson, arriving. While there was once nothing but the best summer camp ever, it's now only a killing field for her. No matter what anyone does, Angela will have a problem with it. And when this woman has a problem with somebody, she's not one to try and resolve it through conversation. No, she'd rather find inventive ways to make all the campers' hearts stop beating, using anything necessary to accomplish her goal. As the number of campers becomes noticeably slimmer, it's up to one courageous girl to try and get out of Camp Rollin Hills alive.
Who wrote that? Little Steven?
Anonymous.
Okay, I was just wondering. Clarence, the saxophone guy, did he write that?
Yes, he did.
I'm just naming easy.
I know who you're naming.
Okay.
Max Weinberg?
I don't know where you want to start with this movie, because this movie is very totally different than the first movie.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Yes.
I recently just saw the first movie through the Joe Bob Briggs, what was that show that he has on Shudder?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Through that, we watched that. And I was surprisingly, I was okay with that movie. It was cheesy, but had all the fun elements that you would with a slasher movie, horror movie, with a surprise twist ending.
Yes.
Correct? Now, if you've not seen the movie Sleepaway Camp, we are going to ruin the first movie for you by talking about this movie. You kind of have to.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So just be aware of that. But do go back and watch Sleepaway Camp with a very before its time twist ending, you would say, right?
Oh yeah. I think that at the time, and I've seen things with it now, but at the time it was, you just didn't really see that.
Yeah, you didn't see stuff like that. So I guess it starts off with there's a bunch of campers at the fire, right?
Yeah,
like a campfire.
Yes.
They're all telling spooky stories like they would.
Yes.
And at first I was like, is this the camp that we're going to be at? Because at first I was like, maybe this is not. Maybe this is just a different camp.
Yes.
And then someone's going to get killed and it's going to be 5 years later or something like that. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it
kind of
takes
felt
place 4 or 5 years after.
It does take place 4 or 5 years later. So they go around telling ghost stories, and then someone tells the ghost story or the horror story, you would say, of pretty much the plot of the first movie.
Yes.
So go ahead.
She tells about Camp Arawak, where people were getting murdered.
Right. I think it's what's her face or what's his bucket that says it, right? The Molly's kind of boyfriend.
Oh yeah. What the hell is that character's name?
Yeah.
Sean, played by Tony Higgins.
Right, because his dad is a policeman.
Yes.
Who was there for whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, to arrest Angela.
Yes.
And whatnot.
Yeah, he arrested Angela Baker before, and they tell the story about how it was a boy raised as a girl, and all this stuff happened. They found her on the beach. She got arrested. They sent her through shock treatment and all this other stuff, and even had gender reassignment surgery. And they just basically kind of said here's all the things that people got killed, but here's what happened afterwards.
A lot of pronouns were kind of being confused. I mean,
one point they weren't. I've heard worse.
Right. That's what I mean, though. When I heard that, I was like, okay, I'm not cringing about that. That's not a moment I'm like, oh well, they just glossed over that or made fun of that. They really didn't. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Which I was kind of happy about in a way, because it is 1988.
Right.
Well,
and do you think, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if because of the writer himself, if that had anything to do with it.
Oh yeah, the writer of this movie is Michael Hitchcock.
Fritz Gordon,
right? Who is in a lot of Christopher Guest. If you've seen the guy, he's one of those people that you have to see his face and you go, that guy.
Yeah.
But he does a lot of improv with Christopher Guest and his troupe, which is very odd for me to think that he would write the sequel to Sleepaway Camp.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, a gig's a gig.
But like we said, totally different than the first movie. The first movie, I think, has this kind of, I don't want to say guilty pleasure about it, but it has this kind of cult following that I think it deserves. While this movie has, they were like, let's make it more kind of satirical but funny, and a lot of it kind of, I don't know, there's times where it kind of loses itself to me. I don't know about you. With that comedy. But there was also times where I was like, okay, is she like Serial Mom? Like John Waters? Like I was waiting for that moment to where it was like, I was wanting it to be more over the top about it.
Yes.
But it was almost like when it was over the top, it didn't go too far over the top for me, and I wanted it to. I wanted to go just a little bit more. I wanted to go up to 11, a la Christopher Guest.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think that there was a lot of...
Because if you're going to go that route, just go full tilt.
Yeah, exactly. I think it wanted to be... It wanted to be a black comedy. I mean, it is a black comedy. But it's like, I'm with you. Like, it didn't either go all with it or not. Like, you either go all in Serial Mom-ish.
Right.
Or just don't go that route. Because I think, like, a lot of this stuff was kind of like, it just fell flat when things were about to happen.
When Pamela was,
Yeah.
Right. Yes. I want to say Angela and Pamela, but whatever. Angela, Pamela, ba-ba-da, ba-ba-da.
Are you trying to sing?
What?
Are you trying to sing Mambo Number 5?
Yeah, I mean, any way to not really talk about this movie is fine.
No. I know this one is. I'm sorry. This one is a little hard for me.
Okay. Well, why is it hard for you? Like, go ahead.
Okay. So it's not. It's not because it's. I mean, it could be better, but it's not because like it's so bad. It's not like Thanksgiving.
Right. It's not like that.
No. I think the thing with me is there is no suspense to this movie.
No.
At all. Because so one of two things needed to happen. Either we didn't need to know who the killer was.
Correct.
Because they already said, well, I heard there was gender reassignment surgery. And they were like, well, he or she or whoever they are is this and this. Like, so why couldn't we have toyed around with, like, they could be,
I would have liked that.
Angela could be anybody.
Right.
And not show who it is who's killing anybody.
Well, because so much of the first movie, what works is that the fact that we don't know who the killer is.
Yes.
Right? Like, it kind of, like, this movie kind of reminds me of, like, Friday the 13th Part 2 in the way that, like, we know who the killer is. You know what I mean? So, in that aspect, there really is no tension to it. Like, but the first movie, we knew that. We didn't know it was Jason's mom.
Yeah.
We didn't know it was Angela. We just knew that there was something wrong with this girl.
Yes.
You know what I mean? She was damaged in a way.
Yes.
And so we were like, is someone stalking her? We kind of had those red herrings about it. Here, we just know right away that she is. So if that's the case, and you're going for dark comedy, go all out. Make me actually care about Angela.
Yes.
In a way that, like, I'm like, I hate her so much, I love her.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Here's the other part, too. If you're not going to do we don't know which one Angela really is kind of a thing. Yeah. If you're not going to do that, then the other thing you have to do is make her very, like, menacing. Like, there was not a lot of where you see her, like, looking at somebody and stalking them. Mostly it was her just being like, hi, I'm here, and then just hitting them in the head with logs.
Right.
With branches.
There was a lot of branch hitting in this movie.
There was. And if you look, it's the same branch.
It's the same branch. It's like going around the same rock in Land of the Lost.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, you already passed that rock. Thanks.
Yeah, but there's no suspensefulness to it. It's like, literally, it was just, hi, I'm here. Now I'm burning you alive.
Though, like, even though there was no suspense, like, Pamela Springsteen did, like, when I was watching her, I could tell she was having a fun time.
Oh, yeah.
Like, she was just loving it.
I thought she played crazy pretty well.
I thought so, too. And I thought she actually hit some comedy beats okay. But I think that, like, there needed to be more of it in order to really kind of get that. To make it more of a dark comedy for me.
Now, okay, so I'm going to say what I think would have made this better. And let me know what you think about
Charlie
this.
Sheen. Go ahead. No.
That really in the same way, similar to Psycho 2, that we see Pamela or we see Angela and they're, you know, maybe they're piecing together, oh my God, like, they think Angela is doing this killing, when in essence it's really her uncle, or whoever it was who killed her, because he has to know,
right?
And he had to have, you know, been involved in her life somewhere. Right. So if the uncle was the killer, and she was kind of this like passive, like either following his orders.
So you're talking about the character of the camp director.
Yes.
That's Uncle not John. Her real uncle, though, right?
I don't know.
I think that's just what everyone calls him. They just all
call him Uncle John?
I think it's just a camp name. I think everyone calls him. Then. Yeah, it's kind of creepy. But I think that was just a camp name. I don't think that
so this camp for 24-year-olds that has 2 teenagers in it.
Did you also feel like, though, like with Angela, like the character of Angela, like the actress Pamela, and like all the actresses that were playing the females, right?
Yeah.
I felt like there was no age difference between them.
No,
like they looked like they were the same age.
No,
right?
Yeah,
and also like, and I'm gonna be honest with you, like at the beginning of this movie, I'm like, are we just gonna kill all the women in this movie?
Yeah, it took us a while to get to that.
It took us a while to get to guy, and then when we did, it was like it was 2 kind of dork kids dressing up like Jason and Freddy.
Yes.
And having that meta moment, which actually like was fine.
Yes.
You know, I actually was okay with that because then we're bringing some meta in, but then kind of continue that. Like you just kind of were like, okay, I'm going to pay homage right here.
Yes.
And then like, forget about the rest of it.
Yeah.
Oh, and then the chainsaw too. I guess you got the chainsaw for Chainsaw Massacre, the Texas Chainsaw.
Yes. Yeah.
So I guess
Leatherface.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you caught that the Leatherface face was one of the other campers.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then like later on you see the skinned corpse. So I was like, nice. Okay, like that to me was like a creepy nice touch.
Like I agree, but it's like then kind of give me the meta more and kind of it's like eating a steak, right? And then halfway you're like, you know what? I need some sauce on that.
Yeah.
And then you're like, nah, put too much sauce on. I don't want to finish this. It's kind of like that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I'm like, nah, just continue with it.
Yeah. Either give us the sauce.
My baby got sauce. Mm-hmm. Sorry. But yeah. Now, as far as like, this is a huge body count, by the way. And the first movie kind of had a big body count as well, right? We're talking about I swear there's like 17 people who died in this movie. Like the whole camp dies.
Yeah. Well, but okay. Yeah, I mean, basically everybody dies, which is interesting.
Which is, go that route, I guess. I don't know. I'm with you on this. I'm with you on that. This is a hard movie for me to talk about because I don't know if it was that I just didn't know what I was expecting, or that I care because I really do care about that first movie.
Yeah. From
that first viewing.
Yeah.
And it's so fresh in my mind that maybe, for a movie that came out, way back in the day, that I don't know. Maybe I just was disappointed and I wasn't really even wondering what this was going to be. I heard that this was a dark comedy, and so I was like really hoping it would really amp the comedy up a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah. Like Tucker and Dale comedy, like stuff like that, like where it's dark comedy, but like,
Yeah. Exactly. Like
tongue in cheek.
Yeah, I wanted more tongue in cheek, and they do it like. That's the thing that kills me with this is like it doesn't know what it wants to be. Sometimes it wants to be slasher. Sometimes it just wants to be dark comedy. Sometimes it wants to be like really comedic version.
Sometimes it wants to be Porky's. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Sometimes
it does.
Yeah. I mean, if I was a horror fan, right?
Yes.
Which I'm obviously not a horror fan, but knowing people who do like horror, I would think that this check marks every box off, though. It really does, though. Think about it. The body count is high.
Yep.
The boobs are high.
Yep.
And plentiful. Except you only see white boobs, by the way. I don't think I ever saw... I'm just saying.
Well, but there's only one other camper who...
Right, but I'm just saying, like, you never see... You're right.
Now,
there's only one... There's two campers who are, like, black.
Oh, yeah. One who played Jason and or who got killed and he's dressed as Jason. And the other one gets strangled with a
Go ahead,
guitar cord.
Not that I'm all like, oh, you should totally, like,
no,
flash. No. But I'm just saying, like...
Right.
Right. You're marketing
some of these kids, and that might be because some of the actors were underage.
Were underage, and
like
that
there
makes
was,
sense.
I can't remember.
Nothing. I'm like, yeah, I want to see the boobs go.
There was the one, Allie. She was sleeping with the guy.
Right.
That kid, when they were having sex in the woods, and like you only see his face once.
Yeah,
but mostly it's just focused on her and stuff, and then you see like the top part of his head. As he's laying against a log. That's because he was underage, so she couldn't simulate sex with him. Like they had to do a cutaway to make that happen. So, I mean, it's very possible that some of these other kids probably couldn't flash because they were
maybe there is the trivia question or the trivia information that these characters are also named after Brat Packers or famous actors from the 80s. You would say, for instance, like our final girl is Molly, which is supposed to represent Molly Ringwald. If that's the case, I kind of want that to be meta too as well.
Yes,
I want them to kind of mention something with that. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, exactly.
Like I don't know. You can get around saying the Breakfast Club without saying the Breakfast Club or whatever. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You can do that, and if you're going to name all these characters by these 80s characters or 80s actors' names, you might as well. I don't know if they were just trying to be all like, see, it's almost the end of the 80s and we'll just kill all these people off, right?
Yeah.
Like, haha, this is just a passing phase of like, I don't know, maybe, who knows? I'm probably reading it into it more than what it actually is. This movie, like, that's what I mean about like Sleepaway Camp 1. I feel like it actually is saying something important, even though it isn't saying something important.
Yeah.
There is that element because of that surprise that she is a he, that you're like, oh, this is deeper than what it really is, even though it was kind of used as a gotcha moment. Here, there's nothing really to kind of, symbolize anything really, to make me go, oh, that means, the Reaganomics of the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or whatnot.
Yeah, I just think there's so much that is lost with this movie.
Mm-hmm. What did you enjoy, though?
There were some comedic moments, and I don't know if I was avoiding saying this until we got to our 5 questions.
Do you want to wait until our 5 questions on this?
Let me put it this way.
Okay.
Like, sometimes the humor is on point.
I agree.
And when the humor is on point, that's when I was like, okay, I can deal with this. Because as just a straight up horror, it's not that great. Like, even the blood effects are pretty shoddy as far as, like, as effects go.
Yeah.
The blood looks good, I'll say that. But they're, like, as far as, like, when they do them, like, there's at the beginning, there's a gal where the first gal she kills, she hits in the head with a log, and you can just tell she hit her with a, like, fake blood-soaked sponge because it is like plentiful.
Yeah.
And the girl's like, what? And then like when she's on the ground, Angela's trying to cut her tongue out.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, this is taking too long.
Oh, right.
And then finally, blood just gushes. Well, you could just tell like she's trying to crush the little packet of blood in her hand to make it squirt. And it wasn't working.
Yeah.
And then finally it goes. And that's when she's like, okay, I got the thing. And it was like...
Having said that, though, it was fun to watch. Again, it's fun to watch her do that, though. Like, act in that scene. I'm talking with the girl that plays Angela.
Yeah.
Because she did have a fun time. Even doing that, like, where all of a sudden it was all like, you know, when we figured out who she was right away.
Yeah.
When she's just like, you've been bad. And, like, she then goes ahead and hits her over, you know, and kills her. Even though the kill was kind of, like you said, not up to par.
Yes.
The tone of it was kind of fun and funny.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is going to be a parody.
Yes.
And then it wasn't.
Right.
Like, it wasn't to the point of, like, Wet Hot American Summer. And I'm not saying, like, it should be, but I'm just saying it should be, I don't know. I felt like this should have been a parody.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
It should have... It's like
a dark comedy parody,
right? So there's a movie called Blood Feast by Herschel Gordon Lewis, and later on they came up with Blood Feast 2, which many years later, and so it had gotten such a cult following by that point that they were like, let's make this more parody and goofy than like the first thing was.
Yeah,
and so like that's kind of. Like, if you were going to do this, why not just fully roll into it? Like, part of me thinks they were trying to. I know it's supposed to be like a black comedy, but, like, part of me feels like that's almost unintentional. Like, I'm not sure that was really fully what it was, and then they went back and, like, tuned things up to make it that way.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, because it seems like there's a lot of scenes that feel like, in retrospect, it feels like they were like, insert a funny thing here, insert a funny thing there. That's not happening like in the regular course of how the movie is working. Yeah. It's just like kind of standalone scenes. Mm-hmm. So,
did you have a fun kill or a favorite kill? Mine is Allie in the outhouse. Yeah. Only because it was so stupid and so fun to watch it. And like it was so like you're right, like the shots of it are just so bad, but like you hear kind of like the water splash when she's doing it, and I'm like, whatever. Like I'm just kind of like, I roll my eyes to it, but I rolled my eyes like out of fun with it, and not rolled my eyes out of that's stupid. Yeah, you know what I mean? I wanted more of that kind of kill.
Yes.
Funny kill instead of like stabbing someone. There's a lot of stabs in this movie.
Yeah.
And I'm like, the stabs weren't scary. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't feel like anyone was really fighting the stab or even going for the stab when they had a chance to. And so I'm like, why can't you find... There was also a, like, where she lit the twins on fire, and I'm like, that's not... No.
But I can say, like, as far as like favorite deaths go, from like a scary standpoint, or from like a not even scary, just kind of like a
it doesn't matter,
standpoint. Seeing the two, there's when she drowns in the toilet because she's like, well, she keeps coming up for air and she keeps poking her back down with the stick,
right?
Until she stops gurgling and doesn't come back up. And that's when I was like, oof, like that drowning in the outhouse is kind of creepy. And the whole thing with like, there are leeches. I'm like, what?
In your outhouse? Sure.
Yeah, you know. But to me, I'm like, okay, like that could be a creepy death. You know, like I see where it could be creepy. So to me, I'm like, I could kind of get behind that because I get, you know, it made me think about like, ooh, like differently. If it was done differently, I think it would be it'd be like you could make that genuinely scary. But like, I think the way they did it with the gurgling sound effect, I think that's what ruined it for me. Was where it's like continuing trying to gurgle while this is all happening. It just seemed really, I don't know. Seemed awkward for me.
I mean, it's just not. Yeah. But besides that, but there's a lot of people that get stabbed. There's people that get hit over the head.
But to me, like I was saying, like I think that the drowning thing could have been creepier. Right. I almost would have rather also gotten shots of like the stick on top of her head, like pushing her down in and her like trying to get out, instead of just like seeing her hands popping up out of the toilet.
And then she goes, "You should have been in the first one," and I'm like, "Yeah, I guess you should have been." Then why didn't you? There was moments where I'm like, is she going to kill this person? And then she doesn't kill them. Yeah. Like, I'm like, it's a perfect opportunity to kill them. Why don't you just kill them now? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Not that I should be rooting for someone to, right. But it just was all like, let's just move this along a little bit.
The other thing was...
and also, like, so I just sent this person home. Well, your cabin keeps, like, losing people. Yeah. And she's like the counselor of the week. But you're the counselor of the week because you keep sending people home, even though you're not really sending people home. Yeah. I'm like, and then finally they catch on. I'm like, are they that daft that they're not like, do you know what I mean? Go ahead. What were we going to say?
Like, I don't know. I lost my train of thought. It's okay. It was either, I don't know, like, I see things like that. What was the other one? Like the fire death, like we're killing the twins, like as stupid as it was, like when I think about like how bad that could have been, I'm like, oh my god, like that's a pretty terrifying one, especially if one wakes up and the other one's already barbecued like that. Yeah, exactly. And be like, oh my god, like, what happened? Yeah. But like I think that just fell flat. It was just like, it was so quick and it was so over that it was.
And that could have been like budget issues.
I'm sure it was. I'm sure it was.
So we just have to have a charred skeleton.
Right. And I get that.
Instead of like someone whose face is all burnt out.
Yes. No, I get that. Yeah. But like, to me, like part of that just, to me, like, then if you can't show it, then you have to make up the suspense around it to make me think more about it. And like, no, I had to imagine how scary it was and not like there was no suspense. There's a lot of time. It was like there and it was done. Yeah. Like it was just, that was it.
Well, I mean, should we go into our 5 questions since we're kind of on? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we can get there.
Yeah, why don't we do that?
Yeah, what do you think is the best part of this movie?
There is actually a moment that I actually kind of enjoyed. And when you saw it, you kind of looked at me and you said, oh, well, we just kind of... we needed to fill some space. But I actually enjoyed when they cut, when she was, I think she's sleeping and she has these dreams about like all the kills that she has. Yeah. And then, cause she does this creepy song at the beginning with her guitar, Yeah. Very Pamela Springsteen, Rocket, Yeah. And, she, where it's like, we're happy campers until we die. And then they slow that down. Yes. Like, we're happy campers. And so I actually kind of enjoyed that scene. I thought, oh, that's kind of creepy in a way. Just that. Not necessarily, I didn't need to get the greatest hits of Angela of the movie. Yeah. I just saw them like, 20 minutes ago. Yes. Yeah. I didn't need that. But like that little scene, I was like, I kind of wanted more of that. So I want comedy. I want black comedy parody creepy. Yes. Do you know what I mean?
And I did like when she woke up when somebody was like, said something about like, you're terrible or, Yes. It basically said something about her being bad and she woke up. I was like, okay. Yeah. I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't hate Estevez in this movie. I thought she was fine. Yeah. There is a long chase scene that almost goes way too long for the final girl moments at the end, where it's just kind of like
Yeah, like, and I don't mean to sound bad, but it's like student film, kind of like you're going, you're chasing someone in a forest and you only have so much room.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm behind this tree now. I'm like, okay.
Well, and it didn't have, like, you could also tell it was like a couple people who didn't have like that. I don't think they had the training for it probably that much yet.
Right. But from what they had, it was fine, and I did enjoy Pamela Springsteen's.
Right. Well, what I'm saying, like, so when Pamela Springsteen catches up to Renee Estevez,
right,
and she's like behind a tree, she like, it's this very awkward, like it should have been there, and it should have been quick and menacing, but like she like walks out, and they like slowly get into position, and then wrestle. And then she, like, cuts herself and then slowly, like, puts blood on the side of Renee Estevez's face. Right. Not, like, acting crazy while she does it. She's just, like, meep, and puts it down.
Right.
And then they, like, wrestle a little bit. And it was very, like, stage 101.
It was.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I think that they needed someone, again, could have been budget issues.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Needed someone to have some stage combat, skills to bring to it. Having said that, they're not terrible, and you can see them having fun with their roles.
Again, yeah.
And I do appreciate that.
Yep.
So that's my favorite part.
Yeah.
That they had fun.
Yes. My favorite part of this movie, so at one point, Demi, named for Demi Moore.
Oh, okay.
Demi comes into the cabin, and she's like, it's really weird. I called so-and-so because she gave me her number, so I'm going to call and see how she was. Mm-hmm. And her mom said she was still at camp. And Angela goes, did you say anything? And she goes, no, I didn't want to cause any trouble, like, because I don't know what's going on. So I didn't want to cause any trouble, so I kept it to myself. And Angela goes, okay, good. And she, like, walks out, and she locks the door to the cabin. And Demi has this whole thing where she's just talking about, then she checked this person and she checked with this one, and nobody knows where any of these people are, and so on and so forth. And while she's doing that, Angela, the first thing she does, she grabs a coat hanger, and she's like, you see her like testing it out, like could she hurt her with it, like kind of smacking.
She's trying to figure out what I can use to kill her.
And then she like, you see her put her head through it, like, can I do something with this? And then she's like, no. And she grabs a boombox and is like mimicking hitting her, and like, to me, like, that was where I was like, okay, we're going serial mom route. And I loved that part.
Wanted more of that.
Yes, until she finally, and because it's funny too, because Demi is just talking and giving away this whole, like, none of this makes sense kind of, like, and it doesn't. Like, nobody would ask about any of this stuff. And so she's kind of laying it all out there while Angela is going through and, like, figuring out ways to kill her, and finally kills her with the string from one of her guitar, or one of the strings from her guitar.
My favorite, she takes a hairbrush, and then, like, how do I kill her with this? And then she just brushes her hair.
Yeah.
Like, it was like, what? Okay, sure, I guess. But yeah, no, I did enjoy that too.
Yes.
Because of the absurdity of it.
Yep.
But it was fun absurd. It wasn't like, roll my eyes absurd.
But then, like,
I wanted more of that.
But then, to me, like, and as much as I love that scene, like, that one part in there, like, that should have been the tone of your movie, I think.
It should have been.
But then they ruin it, like, instantly the next time, because then the next character comes in, Leah comes in, and she's just like, stab.
Yeah.
Goes, what? Why? Just like, because you'll tell on me.
Because you'll tell.
Yeah.
Stab.
And so I was like, well, that was very...
It seemed like there was easy ways to just get rid of people just by stabbing them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
yes.
I'm like, okay. Yeah. Go ahead. Question 2.
And so, question 2. Let me see here. Reboot, continue, or cancel?
Based on this movie, I don't think they should have done a third one, but they did. They did a fourth one.
I saw that.
No, I just don't think. I think this should be done. This should have been canceled.
I would agree.
I think they should have given it a shot, which is what they did.
Yeah.
And I think that after that, they should have just been like, no, we're done.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think they should have done back to back.
No, I don't.
Lord of the Rings, this is not.
Lord of the Rings, this is not. I would agree with you. I think they should have canceled it. They should have seen this and gone over.
They should have given it a chance to do a sequel for this for Sleepaway Camp. Don't get me wrong, but no, it should have been canceled after their failed attempt.
Do you think this stands on its own?
No, I mean we got to know a little bit more about Angela.
Yeah.
So if you don't know the first movie, good luck. You're lost.
Yeah. And that being said, like they run through the plot of the first movie real quick
at the beginning. I don't think you necessarily need to know the kills, like where she's killing them. Maybe the motivation, but not necessarily,
Yeah, it's definitely not like Friday the 13th though, where like the first 30 minutes are just exposition about the first movie.
Yeah, no.
Would you? Does this make you want to watch the first one?
This movie alone does not make me want to watch the first one.
I agreed.
I think it's probably because of it's just so different than the first movie.
Yes, it is.
Plus, you have a different Angela, and I really like that actress that plays. I think she actually read for this movie, but then they were like, no, and then she was going off to college. I think here's someone from the interview that she did with Joe Bob. I think she has more of that tone of dark comedy that this movie should have had.
Agreed.
And I'm thinking, why didn't you? I'm just lost opportunity.
Yeah, I don't know why they. So it made it sound like what I read was it made it sound like Felissa Rose had auditioned for it again and read for it.
Yeah,
and they have the whole thing about like, well, she was going off to college, but it made it sound like they were like Felissa Rose. And then we're like, no, we don't want you.
Yeah.
Like, dude, it's Sleepaway Camp.
Right. She's the one that sold it for you.
Yeah. Instead, you wanted the fine acting of...
of Bruce Springsteen's sister.
Yeah, of Pamela Springsteen.
Whose first acting credit, by the way, was The Facts of Life.
Yes.
Yeah, go for her. Sure. Okay. All right.
Yeah, if I were to take this movie, this is the first one of the series I saw, I would not want to watch the first one.
No, I wouldn't either. I would think that the first one is this tone, right?
Yeah.
And I wouldn't want to watch it. Which is a shame, because you should watch the first one.
Yeah. Part of me, I mean, you should watch it. I would say that too. Like, you definitely should watch the first one. Don't let this one sour you for the first one. So. And then sum up your experience in 2 words.
Unhappy watcher. I'm an unhappy watcher. I really am. I was really hoping when I was reading this, where I was reading, this is more of a comic tone. I was thinking, good.
Yes.
Because I didn't want the same tone as the first movie. Because I'm like, that's already been done. You can't shock me if you're going to shock me. Because you already really did that in the first movie. You need to switch the tone up. Like, if you're going to do that. Which I do appreciate when sequels do that, because I don't want it to be a carbon copy of the first movie. So if you're going to do that, do it. Go full force, or I'm an unhappy watcher.
Yeah. I think my 2 words, I'm going to say Cabin Fever.
Cabin Fever? You should be watching Cabin Fever instead.
Yes, watch Cabin Fever instead. No. So, I've got to put the camp pun into it, but no, I think, like, I have this weird, like, post-watching this movie feeling.
I do, too.
And it's, like...
It's really odd.
Yeah, like, it's weird because, like, if I hate a movie, I know I hate it. And if I like a movie, I know I like it.
But I don't know what I feel about this movie.
This movie just makes me feel like I simply exist.
Yes.
Like there's nothing that this sparks no emotion one way or the other. I think
you said, well, we watched that.
Yeah,
like, and that's how I feel.
And so, like, I feel really like I feel really unaccomplished for having watched this
Not
movie.
Like you're like, I wish I had my 2 hours of my life back.
No, just like,
but it's just like you're just like, you want more, but then you're just like, well, about 20 minutes in the movie, you're not going to get it, but you're like, well, I'm in it.
Yes.
So I'll continue, And that happened.
Yeah.
Especially the ending. The ending is very abrupt and very just like, boom, there.
And very nonsensical.
Yeah, nonsensical. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
But if, we definitely recommend you watch the first one.
You know what? Like, I even say, if you want to, continue the series. If you're a horror fan, do it. Do what
if you like
want.
Boobs,
like I said, like if you like Rolling Hills, then you will love Sleepaway Camp 2 because it is set in Rolling Hills, and there are a lot of rolling hills in this movie. Like I said at the beginning, so yeah. Twin Peaks, you are not, but Rolling Hills, yes, correct. So there you go. You've been deuced on Sleepaway Camp 2. Unhappy campers, we are kind of a little unhappy. We're not unhappy. I would just say there and we watched it, right? So that concludes our series of you would say horror summer movies. We are going to do a special Loose Deuce series coming up. Jeremy, what do we have planned? Because we have a lot of you would say different kind of not quite sequels.
Yeah.
Sidequels.
So we wanted to go back and touch on we've done this before where we've looked at prequels and we've looked at sidequels and we've looked at different things like that, spin-offs. I mean, we've tried to hit different genres of stuff periodically, and so we're gonna do a Loose Deuce series, and we figured this would be a good time because people ask us questions about where movies fit in there, and we've seen things where it's confusing about it's a prequel but it's the second one in the series, and so where does it fall? So and having these kind of conversations. So we wanted to touch on some more of the different specific kinds of sequels. So we're going to talk about paraquels and interquels and sidequels and
if all that doesn't make sense to you, you can look it up, but we will actually educate you on what all this means coming up. Paraquels, sidequels, you know it, you believe it, and we'll give you examples along the way. We're going to start things off probably with you would say paraquel.
I think the first one was a sidequel.
Oh, is it a sidequel?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's going to be a sidequel, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So look forward to that. Should we tell everyone what we're doing for the sidequel or not?
I don't think so.
Okay, we'll keep that a secret.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, where can people find us, Jeremy?
People can find us at thedeucepodcast.podbean.com. You can find us on Google Play or Apple Podcasts. You can find us on a lot of different podcatchers. You can also go to our Facebook page. So we have a community there. You can sign up and share in the fun.
Our Twitter.
Yes, we have our Twitter at Deuce Podcast.
Tweet us, email us.
Yes, exactly. Or you can also find us at nophonynetwork.com.
So if you have a suggestion on a movie that you want us to do, or if you do want to be on the podcast as well, those are ways to get a hold of us. So go ahead and do that. We're more than happy to have anyone on to discuss a nice sequel or prequel or whatever we want. So, but on that note, I would say, Jeremy, that the sequel is king.